na paro paraṃ nikubbetha, nātimaññetha katthaci na kañci, Byārosanā paṭighasaññā, nāññamaññassa dukkhamiccheyya. One person should not deceive another. One should not despise anyone, anywhere. Due to anger or repulsion, one should not desire harm for another. So back here in the first line of verse 6, our subject is paro. We know it is the subject because it is nominative singular. It is masculine nominative singular. And notice right after this, we have the same word, but here in the masculine singular accusative case. So we can pretty much assume this will probably be an object. We're going to be on the lookout for some kind of transitive verb. And a transitive verb we indeed have. Nikubbetha. But we have to slow down here and we have to discuss a few things. Our verb, nikubbetha, is in the optative mood. The issue here is that this form of the verb is second person plural. And we don't really have a way to reconcile our singular subject with a second person plural verb. If it were second person singular, we could work something out. So this is where the commentary can come in handy. If we look in the commentary, we will see that we have, here's in bold, na nikubbethati, and then it is glossed as nātimaññetha. Vaññeceyya is the optative form of vanchati, which is to cheat or deceive. And not only is it optative, but it's optative third person singular. So they're telling us that this has to be understood as a singular. We have to read this as some kind of singular verb. We won't speculate here about why that is or could be the case, like how this happened. We will just rely on the commentary at this point. And before we go on, let's just notice something about how Pali expresses an idea that's a little different in English. Paro is a word that means other. Referring to a person, it means another person. So just notice that the way we might talk about reciprocity, how in English we would say one should not deceive another. That is, we use different words for one and another. Just notice here in Pali, they use the same word. Literally, it would be something like another should not deceive another. It works really well in Pali. I mean, it could work in English too. It works well in Pali because we have these different cases. So it's obvious that it's referring to a different person. And something very similar to this is going to happen at the end of the second line. Now, going on, nātimaññetha, this is actually na, the negating particle, plus nātimaññetha. And this is exactly the same situation where we have this second person plural optative, but it has to be understood as a third person singular optative. The verb here in question, nātimaññetha, means to despise, slighten, neglect. And we might just carry over the same subject. We could just understand paro as, one should not despise in this case. I didn't really mention it, but optatives are used to express hypothetical situations and wishes and polite imperatives. It would be good if the following happened, that sort of thing. So we'll just say here, it would be good if one did not despise, one should not despise we'll go in order here. Katthaci is kattha and chi. Kattha is an interrogative. It means where. And we've come across this chi before. It marks indefiniteness. So katthaci means anywhere. It could mean wherever as well. Anywhere. One should not despise anywhere. And now we come to kañci. And this is, first of all, I put it down here, but there are some variant readings. And actually, the commentary seems to support what is listed here as the reading kañci. That is the Sri Lankan and Pali Text Society's preferred reading. So it's not a negating particle, it's nung. If we look in the commentary, nung is glossed as etang. That we would also find in Duroisel. So we could take that as one should not despise this one. We might just take it as one again. It might be referring back to another. And then we have kañci. And again, this is kung, which would be an interrogative, whom, plus chi, making this indefinite, whoever, or like anyone. And in the commentary, they spell this out. You'll notice they have kattiyang va, brahmanang va, gahatang. It goes on and on. It lists all the castes, and it also includes sukitang, those who are happy, and those who are sort of miserable, maybe the blessed and the cursed almost. And then this vati adi kind of means and, or almost etc., and so forth. This, in other words, this list is not complete. It's really about anyone, anywhere, irrespective of caste or circumstance. And you might wonder why that would be included. And I will give a tip of the hat, a big shout out to Swami Satchit Ananda in his commentary to Patanjali's Yoga Sutras. In verse 33, he discusses what in Buddhism are called the Brahma Viharas. And he says sometimes it's possible you might see someone who's really afflicted and think, well, they sowed these seeds in a past life and they deserve it. And he says that is not the response we need to have at all. Likewise, you might see someone who's really blessed and start to feel jealous. And again, this is not the type of reaction we need. So I think that this was put in the commentary to sort of point out that all people are deserving of being treated with metta, loving kindness. Now on the next line, why don't we skip to the ending part here? We have nāññamaññassa. Now this is na coming together with nāññamaññassa. This produces a long A when and come together. And I didn't mention it, but it happens in the second part of the first line there, nātimaññetha. So this is a similar situation to paro paraṃ. Añña means another. And actually in the nominative by itself, a nominative masculine singular, we would expect añño. But when it is put together with another form of añño, we do see this form aññam. So it looks like it would be kind of an accusative, but it's not. So the way we have to understand this is añño, and then we have this aññassa. Again, this is the same word, but this is this genitive or dative singular. We won't really know until we understand how it's functioning in the clause or the sentence, because they share the same form. So going on, so we'll come back to this in a minute. Going on, we have dukkhamiccheyya. Now this is the word dukkham run together with the verb icheyya. And icheyya is finally the optative third person singular. This is the verb form we have been reading or understanding in the first line. So icceyya from ichati is to wish or to desire. So now let's start putting all of this together. We have anyo, the first part of nāññamaññassa. Another, we'll do this literally and then we'll smooth it out in English. Another should not wish or desire, icceyya, dukkham. Now, icceyya, I should point out, not only does it mean wish or desire, but it can take the accusative case. In other words, it can take an object. So one should not desire dukkham, unhappiness, suffering, harm. We get the idea here. One should not wish or desire harm. And then we have aññassa. And we were talking about how this could be genitive or dative. And I think here we can see that this is actually an indirect object. So we have a verb, we have a direct object, and then we have this indirect object. So that really is dative. One should not wish harm upon or for another. And now let's go back and get the first part of this line, Byārosanā. Now if you start to look that up in the Pali English dictionary, you'll quickly find that there is no entry for that word. And that's because whenever we come across this by combination at the beginning of a word, we need to understand that it's actually vy. So if we look this up under Byārosanā, then we get a hit. And the meaning of that word is anger. And notice that it's our ending. So since it has this long a, we might think that it could be somehow nominative plural, but that doesn't really work here. There's no verb that's plural. So we can also then think about the fact that a long a can mark the ablative singular. And the basic idea behind the ablative case is to express separation. In English, we can use the word from. So from anger, one should not wish harm upon another. Now we could also amplify that just a little and say that the ablative can express cause. So due to anger, if we just want to be a little more clear, I'm not saying that this would be a beautiful translation, but just trying to get the meaning across, that due to anger, one should not wish harm or suffering or unhappiness upon another. Now, it's not only Byārosanā, it's also paṭighasaññā. Now, this word, you might right away think that it's probably similar to Byārosanā in terms of like its grammatical function. And that is how the commentary takes it. But really, if you looked at the end of this word, saññā, that would be like our feminine nominative singular ending. But again, the commentary here says that this actually should be read as paṭighasaññā, and that would be the ablative case ending for that declension. Now, paṭigha means something like repulsion. Sometimes you'll see it translated as ill will. Saññā in this case, saññā would mean like the perception, the sense of. And so from a sense of revulsion. So altogether, those two words, due to anger, due to a sense of revulsion, one should not wish misery or unhappiness upon another. And I need to mention something that I forgot to mention, which is this nāññamaññassa is very, parallels paro and paraṃ. Again, the Pali is using one word in different cases to express something that in English we use different words for. One should not wish unhappiness upon another. In Pali, literally, we have something like another should not wish unhappiness upon another. I think this came up way back in the Vajragota readings as well, where we encountered anyang jivang, anyang sarirang. meaning the life force is one thing, the body is another.